This episode of Super Bokeh Bros is sponsored by Squarespace, the place to go to for setting up your own slick-looking website.
Here we go. Oh, the colours look rubbish on this. There's a Sony, that's why. There we go. Whoa, it does focus. Look at that. Faster than a Panasonic. It's not bad, is it? Look at that. It's alright, isn't it? This is older than me. 1981, and it does a better job of focusing than me. Ugh, makes me feel old. Ugh, maybe these shoulder pads. I always see, like, you know, people in the airport with these kind of shoulder pads, and they always end up with them upside down like that, and it makes me laugh. But now I kind of get it. Fucking cat hair everywhere. I shaved my cat. You can tell it's really hot when the water starts to smell a bit kind of funky.
Excuse the randomness, let's focus on the video now and focus on this focusing beast. This is a bargain Canon autofocusing standard zoom lens that is an absolute blast from the past, but not past its prime. Or should that be zoom?
Welcome to the future, baby. That is nothing like you've seen before, I'm sure of. Unless you own one, then you've probably seen it. But if you don't, then you haven't seen it before. If that makes sense. If you don't, you haven't, and you have, then you have. But you can keep watching, yeah?
This is the first autofocusing lens ever! Well, there was another lens before this, but nobody remembers that brand, so never mind. This lens from 1981 really autofocuses all by itself, and has a reasonable fixed maximum aperture of f4 all the way through the range.
You know, you fancy a nice quiet walk down by the riverside, it's going to be ruined by me. The funny thing is, we could have just gone that way. That would have been a lot quieter. But no, we have to be annoying. I look like those proper Hong Kong photo geeks now. On the weekend, taking their gear out. Try doing street photography like that. Who needs tripods? Before this ends up being a video about me walking with a Pelly case, let me show you about this lens. As I mentioned, it is the future. From 1981, it was the future. That's how old it is. It's older than me. Quite hard to believe. But check that out. This is red ringed. It's a Canon lens, but it isn't EOS mount. It's FD. Yes, kids, FD. You heard that right. Look at that. I love all the buttons there. This is what they imagined the future will be like. It's got a battery check. And thankfully it uses AA batteries, 2 AA batteries, not some kind of archaic battery system that you can't find anymore, like mercury. A mercury battery, suck on that. No, don't suck on that. You get poisoned. So you can check the battery level. Look, you probably can't see it. We'll just have to do a close-up shot somewhere else in the shade. There's a little green light that shows, oh, you got some battery power. Focus signal. You know, we're already being annoying with the Pelly case, so we might as well have the focus signal on. Check this out. That's not that annoying anyway. It's quite cute. I mean, if you compare all to the focus noises now, it's like, doo-doo. That's so annoying. Doo-doo. It's like, whoop. It's like a little mouse. It's a cartoon mouse. Oop. Oop, I'm in focus. So yes. I've now got another weird angled thing mounted to the camera. Insta360 1.2. Is that what they call it? And just
Insta360 1X2.
Okay, so just put all of their already used names in a hat and just pick it out.
Well, it's like Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to have an X. It's got to have a 1. It's got to have a 360 Insta. And then some other names that we've used before.
Ergonomically, it's not exactly what I'd call superb. After all, it's like you're holding a lens that is still inside the packaging, with some buttons and knobs on the outside. But look, it's actually surprising how good it still is, 40 years on, if you can get over the unique way that it works.
It's a 2-step process. 2 different devices. Now I can see when they had the autofocus and shoot in one button. That was like, whoa! You have to focus first with this, with a separate button. It's like boom, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, wait for it to focus. 2, you have to remember that this was pre-EOS, so the FD system wasn't an autofocusing system. This was a way of making your FD camera autofocusing. So, you know, there's no contact with the camera. It's a separate thing. That's why they have to have the focus here.
With an adapter, it doesn't matter what camera. In fact, it doesn't even matter about having a camera. It will still focus.
It's actually not too slow to focus. It's quite good, actually, surprisingly. But I guess, I mean, when you look at a focusing system, it's quite big. So, I mean, focusing systems are probably quite tiny now. They fit inside the camera itself. Trying some moving objects. There we go.
Okay, I've taken like several shots, so I think I'm ready to talk about the accuracy of this thing.
I have to sneak up because he knows my tricks. It's actually pretty good, the focus. I think as long as it's, alright, see ya. As long as it's center frame, you can't really go too much wrong.
It takes a little getting used to because you don't see any green AF confirmation squares on the screen, but switch your focus peaking on and you can use that for AF confirmation. Check out the results and you'll see some quite pleasing image quality, and that is a good time, if any, to talk about has it delivered the goods.
So yeah, I mean, what else have we got? I love this. Focus, it is a zoom, you know, to go from zoom to zoom from 35 to 70, use a little lever there. Lever, depends where you're from. And, oh, okay, you change the aperture via a regular method here. It's got a ring. So interestingly, it's got a ring for the aperture and then a little lever for the zoom. Yes, the auto-focusing windows, 2 of them. It does look like rangefinder in a way. Probably a similar system. So when you point at your subject and you press the focusing button, it takes in the information and turns it into all electronic stuff because there's CCD in there, and uses some kind of SST technology, solid state triangulation method, which I guess it means something to do with the 2, you know, converges into 1, and it try and figures out distance and stuff like that, and then it focuses the lens appropriately. I mean, I should have got the adapter for the Panasonic S. Then I could put in the video title, finally, good reliable autofocus for your Panasonic S. Because you don't really need fast autofocus for Sony. Mostly it focuses quite quickly and accurately. Same with Canon. It's funny, isn't it? Like, I wonder why they put it at an angle like that, 45-degree angle. There must be a reason. It's not just because I've put an adapter on this. It is supposed to look like that. Well, it's not ultrasonic, is it? But apparently it makes a low level of vibration when it focuses. That's what they say. I'm not sure if this is going to ruin the lens. There's no switch to flick from autofocus to manual focus, but I mean, technically you can move it with your fingers there, but there's some resistance, which means I'm probably breaking something right now. But you've got the distance scale here. And then, as you see, when it comes out, that bit in the middle there, that's actually a UV filter, 52mm. Let's try out the video, because this could potentially be a good lens for video, especially if you're a Panasonic shooter. Yeah, if you want good continuous autofocus, you've got a button there. Mind you saying that, Panasonic, you can press the shutter button, but still, this is probably quicker and more accurate than some Panasonic lens camera combinations.
Well, it's all good so long as you're not using the built-in mic. That motor noise is ultra loud.
It doesn't struggle, it doesn't kind of do this pulsing that you get with some modern cameras. It just pulls all the way smoothly, slowly, kind of slowly, not super quick, but it's quite a nice focus pull. I mean, for £50, you can't complain. And the image quality, the sharpness is actually all right. The 40-year-old lens. There are some fantastic lenses for the FD mount. And this is probably kind of forgotten about, because 35 to 70 is not all that useful for a zoom lens. You're used to having 24 to 70 now. 24 is proper wide. 35 is just a little bit wider than 50. And 70 is just a bit wider than 50. I mean longer than 50. Even the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III, which I tested recently, that's got more range. It's got four lenses in it. I love how it's white, you know, the off-white Canon colour, red ring. But it's not now. They didn't put L. Didn't need to. It's already luxury. Auto-focusing on a manual focus camera. And this was sort of a first, almost a first. I think somebody else was there first. It's probably Pentax or something like that. Pentax is always first for stuff and then always forgotten because they're boring and make ugly stuff. Get some hate now. I don't have my Pentax hat to protect me.
Not being the first AF lens ever is not an issue. What matters is, I got this for 50 quid. Use xe.com for an up-to-date USD cost price on it. It's a bargain, especially given that this is no rotter of a lens. The image quality is still very good throughout the range when used at f5.6 to f7.1. Even wide open, it still looks good. A slight bit of softness, very slight bit of chromatic aberration, but otherwise very acceptable. I was expecting this lens to be a lot worse than it is, but it's not just a case of better than expected. It is a great lens throughout the zoom range. The only negatives, there's a bit of noticeable barrel distortion at 35mm, and the bokeh is kinda awful. If you don't mind looking like you have Wally's face on the front of your camera, this is a quality optic that is fun to use, and depending on your camera, might even improve your AF speed.
That is ridiculous. It's just because I'm wearing sunglasses today.
If you want to set up your own website, online store, just your own domain, it's super easy to get started with Squarespace with a slick, easy to use interface filled with a plethora of templates to choose from, and with 24/7 customer service to help you out if you need it. You can give it a try with a 14-day free trial and 10% off your first order by using this link and discount code.
And if you don't, you haven't, and you have, if you don't, you haven't, and you, if you don't, you haven't, if you don't, you haven't, then you have.